Jaromir Jagr turns 50 years young today, the day I release this video, and is still playing professional hockey in an effort to preserve one of the Czech Republic's and Europe's most historic hockey franchises, HC Kladno. In a 2021 interview, he told TSN that if he stopped playing, then Kladno's managing partners and sponsors would cut ties with the franchise, and that the club would possibly fold. Quote, "I have no choice. I expect much more from myself, and I also believe that I have it in me," end quote. He then added, "As long as my father breathes, I take the club as my responsibility. He held it for 20 years. As a son, I would be embarrassed if I left." As owner and president of the team, Jagr has willed himself to do whatever is necessary to keep his franchise alive and continue a legacy forged in part by his closest of kin. Over a 38-year period, he has dedicated himself to upholding a pillar of Czech hockey, a franchise that was born nearly 100 years ago. One that celebrates 6 Elite League championships and a multitude of players who have excelled at the highest levels of competition, both in the NHL and on an international stage. So to support the Jagrs, the hundreds of players throughout the decades, the thousands upon thousands of fans, and the legacy of one of Europe's most revered hockey franchises, I give you HC Kladno, a history. Little has been passed down about the early decades of Kladno, so for this segment, we can look at the club through the greater lens of Czechoslovak hockey. In 1908, representatives from France, the UK, Belgium, Switzerland, and Bohemia signed the founding document of the International Ice Hockey Federation, or IIHF. Back then, the Kingdom of Bohemia, the predecessor of today's Czech Republic, was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Following an underwhelming performance at the 1909 Coupe de Chamonix, Bohemia entered the IIHF European Championship Series, winning gold medals in 1911 and 1914. However, the tournament would be postponed from 1915 to 1920 due to World War I. In 1918, Bohemia formed with other territories into Czechoslovakia. The Czechoslovaks were integral to the growth of hockey in Central, Western, and Northern Europe, as the Soviet Union had largely isolated itself. The first IIHF World Championship actually coincided with the 1920 Summer Olympics, hosted in Antwerp, Belgium. Long story short, the Czechoslovaks outlasted Sweden in a 1-0 bronze medal match to become Europe's first IIHF and Olympics medalist. In 1924, just 7 years after the formation of the National Hockey League, the hockey department of the sports club Kladno, or HC Kladno, was born. It would be a while until they entered organized play. But during this nascent phase, Czechoslovaks made ripples in European hockey, winning European championships in 1922, 25, 29, and 33. Then 3 years later, 8 Czechoslovak clubs faced off in the first season of the nation's first professional league, the Extraliga. Czechoslovak hockey continued to grow, spawning new leagues and venues. 1949 welcomed the opening of Zimní Stadion, what was then an open-air venue and continues to host a multitude of competitions to this day. Its first notable occupant arrived in 1950, HC Kladno. The club began organized play in the second tier and entered the Extraliga the following year. Kladno bounced between the two leagues throughout the decade, but finished the 1950s on a historic high. While Zimní's roofing was finally being put together, the team played the 1958-59 season about 25 kilometers away at Štvanice Stadium in Prague. Kladno would actually organize special train services to shuttle fans to the big city, and with their support, they won their first Extraliga title, outclassing the longtime powerhouse Red Star Brno, who finished third. Kladno was a juggernaut from 1975 to 1980. This period began with a dominant 1974-75 campaign in which the team only lost 9 of 44 matches. This was the storybook career ending for longtime team member, former arena director, and Kladno Hockey Hall of Famer Zdeněk Hrabě. who had been with the club since 1962 and over 13 years scored 330 goals. He passed away last month at the age of 80. Leading the team during their dominant run was Milan Novi. He received league MVP honors in 1977, 81, and 82, winning 6 scoring titles. Kladno also won the European Cup in 1977 and finished runner-up 3 times. The team that kept defeating them in the final was the Red Army team of CSKA Moscow, who won all but 2 titles between 1969 and 1990. I believe that same year, Kladno toured the United States to compete against several teams in the World Hockey Association and the NHL. They lost to the Cleveland Barons and tied the New York Rangers, but they managed to defeat both the Chicago Blackhawks and Toronto Maple Leafs. From 1984 to 1990, fans of both the pro team and its junior teams were treated to an outright phenom, Jaromir Jagr. The Kladno native broke into the organization as part of the under-18 team when he was just 12 years old. He dominated junior play, particularly in his final season before making the pro team in 1988. That last season, in just 35 games, he lit the lamp 57 times, finishing the season with a total of 84 points. The learning curve at the pro level was steep for Jagr, as he managed to score just 3 goals and 3 assists in 29 games for his first season. However, the 17-year-old vastly improved his game the next time around, scoring 22 goals and 28 assists over 42 games. His emergence at the highest level of Czechoslovak competition earned him the 5th overall selection in the 1990 NHL draft by the Pittsburgh Penguins. But after Jagr's departure, Kladno would ride a roller coaster of successes, but mostly failures. In 1993, as a result of Czechoslovakia splitting into 2 nations, the Extraliga split into 2 different leagues. In the Czech League's first season of 1993-94, Kladno finished the regular season in first place, but in the playoffs were upset by the 7th-seeded Olomouc. That same calendar year, Jagr's father, Jaromir Sr., stepped in as club president. The following regular season was yet another success, as the club tied for first, but fell once again in the semifinal. After knocking on the door to a 7th title, Kladno would struggle to consistently compete among the league's best teams. In fact, they haven't finished among the top 3 in the Extraliga since 1995. Shortly after their postseason disappointments, longtime sponsor Poldi cut ties with the franchise, and Kladno found itself in financial troubles. The club endured. As their website recounts in a translated clip, quote, Jaromir Jagr Sr., who stood at the head of the famous club, averted the complete collapse at a critical moment. His efforts did not translate to much on-ice success, as the team managed just 4 winning records from 1995 through 2011, advancing no further than the second round of the playoffs. In 2011, Jaromir Jagr Jr. took up his father's mantle as the team's majority owner. In parallel, the team adopted the name Rytíři Kladno, or Kladno Knights. The following year, they saw an opportunity to attract several Czech NHLers who were out of a job, as the league was in a lockout. Jagr and a few others I'll mention shortly joined the Knights roster, with the NHL resuming play in January of 2013. Kladno fell in the first round of the playoffs later that year. However, a year after Jagr returned to the NHL, while retaining team ownership, Kladno was relegated to the second-tier league and took several years to re-emerge as one of the nation's most competitive clubs. After playing his final NHL game on December 31, 2017 with the Calgary Flames, and at the age of 45, Jagr returned to Kladno for a handful of games. His impact the following season was remarkable, to say the least. Still in the second tier, Kladno earned an Extraliga promotion by winning the 2019 Chance Liga final, a game in which the 47-year-old Jagr scored 4 times. Kladno was relegated again in 2020, but the following season won another league title. But from the looks of it this year, the team is likely to be relegated once again. Carrying the team offensively is captain, Kladno native, and longtime Montreal Canadien Tomáš Plekanec. the only player averaging anything near a point per game. As for Jagr, he doesn't play every game, but has found plenty of ways to chip in. Over 32 games, he has scored 8 goals and 11 assists, notching a +7 rating, which is tied for the best on the team. Jagr has also found ways to score off the ice. The club recently announced a partnership with the largest Czech betting agency, Tipsport, for the next 2 years. With a legacy spanning several decades, Kladno has produced a multitude of Czech and Slovak hockey legends and NHL successes. Here are just a few of those standouts. Following in the footsteps of Peter Stastny, and USSR defectors, Milan Nový challenged himself in the highest level of global competition, the NHL. Playing the 1982-83 season for the Washington Capitals, by whom he was drafted 58th overall, he scored a respectable 18 goals and 30 assists over 73 games. He eventually returned to Kladno for 3 more seasons, and in 2011 was inducted into the IIHF Hall of Fame. Other notable Kladno alumni who played in the NHL include, of course, Jagr, Patrick Eliáš, Michael Frolik, Tomáš Kabrle, Tomáš Vokun, Radko Gudas, Ondřej Pavlek, Jakub Voracek, and Marek Zidlický. And if I'm doing my math correctly, Kladno alumni have raised the Stanley Cup a total of 7 times. In addition, 5 Kladno alumni, including Jagr, Milan Hnilička, Pavel Plethora, Martin Prohaska, and Libor Prohask, helped the Czech men's national team capture their lone gold medal at the 1998 Winter Olympics in Nagano, Japan. As for Kladno's all-time statistical leaders during their time in the Czech Extraliga, Pavel Plethora, who played briefly for the Dallas Stars and Minnesota Wild, leads Kladno all-time in games played with 595, goals with 194, and points with 550. The franchise leader in points per game is, you guessed it, Jagr with 1.174. Martin Prohaska, who briefly appeared with the Toronto Maple Leafs and legendary Atlanta Thrashers, is the all-time leader in plus-minus with 93 and game-winning goals with 34. And Jan Kruliš is the all-time leader among defensemen in games played with 404 and scoring, recording 61 goals and 145 assists for 206 points and by far a team-high 975 penalty minutes. And as for Jagr, here's just a quick rundown of his accolades over 24 seasons in the NHL. 2-time Stanley Cup winner with the Penguins, 1991 All-Rookie Team, 1999 Hart Trophy as the league's most valuable player, 3-time Pearson Award, now the Ted Lindsay Award, given to the most valuable player as voted on by the players, 2016 Masterton winner for perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey, 8-time All-Star, 2nd all-time in points with 1,921. I actually saw 1,900 in person. 3rd all-time in goals with 766, although Alex Ovechkin is just about to pass him as I publish this. 4th in games played with 1,733. And all those categories I just named there, he's first among European-born players. NHL fans like myself are no stranger to the original 6 franchises who continue to write new chapters in their legacy. But with the outstanding performances of players like Milan Nový and the leadership of the Jagrs, we are witnessing the celebration and preservation of a franchise nearly as old as hockey in Europe itself. Thank you for watching my video. I did my best at interpreting the information I gathered from both English and Czech sources, but let me know in the comments if I made any errors. Be sure to check out my entire hockey history playlist, spanning NHL arena history, the best journeyman players of all time, the 1960 Winter Olympics in Lake Tahoe, and more. Join me as we explore other topics across hockey history and culture by leaving a like and clicking the red subscribe button. And see the video description if you'd like to follow me on social media or consider supporting the channel with a donation. This has been Nick with Twisted Wrister Hockey.